Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode in the A Casual Review after getting the Platinum. And today, as you can see, we are looking at Assassin's Creed Shadows. Um, this one is a interesting one, and there's going to be a couple notes here for this review. Obviously, there's been a lot of um, what's the words I'm looking for here? There's been a lot of negative attention towards this game. There's been a lot of blunders on Ubisoft's side. There's been a lot of kind of poor choices they've made. There's a lot of hate towards the game, some justified, some not. I am not going to be touching on any of that. What I am looking at is just purely what is in the game. What are the core designs? What are the mechanics? How does it play out? Etc. So I will just make that note here if you're expecting me to go on like a 2-hour rant about how terrible and garbage Ubisoft is. You're not going to get that here. Mind you, there probably will be a few digs at Ubisoft as a whole, just because, a little spoiler for the review, for whatever reason, Ubisoft just likes to stay in its own bubble when it comes to certain design choices that really do hold back Shadows in many ways. But yes, as you can tell, I have unlocked the Platinum today as recording this video on April 12th. It took me about 75 hours. Ignore that 111 on the PlayStation side of things. I've left the game running quite a bit. So yeah, about 75 hours it has taken me to platinum this game. I will say that platinum that I have gotten is not me rushing the game. I imagine you could probably get the platinum faster than that, but this is just me playing the game at a regular pace, not using any guides, and kind of just overall enjoying my experience. And for people who have not watched these type of videos I've done before, I believe this is episode 3 in the series now. This is not a... we got to another volume still, sorry. As you can tell, this is not a highly edited critique, 3-hour critique video, like essay, right? Like, this is more of a casual discussion, something you would have between friends or something like that, right? Where, like, I sit down, I have some notes in front of me, and I kind of just go over what my thoughts are. Mind you, I don't want to say this because it's not true. Like, I feel like you don't need to platinum a game to critique it, but I also do feel like if you do have a platinum, nah, I won't say that. I won't say that. You know what? I will go forward with it. I feel like if you have the platinum, it does give you a little bit more credibility. Obviously, if you play a game for 5 hours and it's dog shit, you don't need to get the platinum for it, right? But I feel like getting the platinum does put a lot of things into perspective. When it comes to talking about games and reviewing them. I accidentally alerted some other enemies here. And we'll be going into many ranges of topics when it comes to gear, exploration, progression, that sort of thing. But right now, I just kind of want to get all the intro stuff out of the way.
Easiest way to stay safe is to stay hidden.
I guess nobody's here. Okay. So let us begin with Assassin's Creed Shadows. Kind of puzzled actually why there's not that many enemies here. Okay. And yeah, these are type of reviews that I could see myself like. I don't know if anyone else is like this compared to me, but I like to have YouTube or like Twitch streams playing while I game. If it's not like a story intensive game, right? If you're talking like multiplayer or something like that, I like to actually listen to things. So that's kind of how I view this series that I'm doing. Less than formal style of reviewing. But anyways, let's get started. I am pleased to announce, because it was... I shouldn't say I'm pleased to announce, obviously people know this, because the game's been out for a month almost. The game is not as massive as Assassin's Creed Valhalla. As people who played Valhalla knows, that game was massive. It was very bloated. It took like, I think 80 hours just to get through the main story, let alone getting the platinum or doing all the side content and quests, right? So the fact that I did all the side quests plus getting the platinum in 70-ish hours can really tell you just how much fat that they trimmed, right? Mind you, there's also a lot of fat in this game that should not be here. Especially when it comes to the knowledge system in terms of progression that we will get into later, because that is definitely one of the bigger gripes that I do have with this game. And as well too, you saw a little bit of there with some of the lower level, smaller enemies, but the combat I have found more refined, more responsive. Origins was good with this hit detection system, but it definitely was floaty, and it didn't really have that hard-hitting feeling to it, right? And of course, not Valhalla, Odyssey kind of fell in place with that too as well, right? Like you were kind of just hovering over the place. But Valhalla, one of the things that I did like about it was it made the combat more connective. Mind you, with the like connect system, it did make combat a bit more choppy, which I know people have called out Valhalla for. And so with Shadows, I believe, I don't want to say they solved that issue. There is some jittering still when it comes to the combat, but it is definitely better, more smooth, more responsive than the previous RPG entries. But on the flip side of that, when it comes to stealth, this is the best stealth in the RPG series. I was about to say trilogy, but obviously we're not in a trilogy anymore. With Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, and now Shadows. It is still not on par with the previous games before the RPG systems were put in place, right? So like Unity, Revelations, Black Flag, etc. Which is still very disappointing. I know Unity had a lot of issues when it was launched, but it was some of the best stealth in the series. And it's one of those things I wish that
shoot the wooden targets on the left side of the truck from home when you're ready. I am ready.
It's one of those things I wish they stayed with and improved upon, right? Because, like, you know what?
3, 2,
Unity's parkour system was not perfect. There were a lot of issues. Like, you would have some weird, like, floating and, like, some animations would glitch out. So it wasn't perfect, but I think it's one of those things where I wish they didn't, they wouldn't just give up on it completely, right? Because like after Syndicate, they just gutted it completely when it came to Origins, right?
Excellent.
And I'm guessing they
I
had
should
to
keep
gut
you
the
here to
parkour
teach my
system
students.
just for the sake of all the other mechanics they were putting in the game. I honestly don't know what the explanation would be for why they removed all the core stealth elements and parkour. But I mean, what has it been now? It's been over a decade, right, since we had a traditional parkour system and stealth. I mean, even well, like this is the first time we've had like double assassinations since Syndicate, right? So it's been a while for a lot of things to finally come back. Um, even like I know there's a Himblade in Valhalla, obviously, but like even just to have a traditional assassin-like character that has the hidden blade that's actually underneath the wrist, right? Not Eivor's weird way of doing things. But the stealth is a lot better. And you know what? Maybe we'll... I'm just trying to see if I could find a castle or something that's, that would be good to look at. I think I might have cleared all the castles. I'm not 100% sure on that. Let's see here. It's a hidden trail. Cosmetic. There's a fort here. There's a camp there. You know what? Let's just fast travel. Flash goes in that way. But yeah, so the stealth and the parkour are still not on par with previous entries though in the series, which again is still another it's yet another disappointment because again every single time a new Assassin's Creed game comes out, I'm always asking, are you guys bringing back the parkour? When is this happening? Because I believe that that's something they should be working towards 100%. But I don't know. I don't know if that's even on the table. And I guess I shouldn't have expected it from Mirage either, because Mirage again was a Valhalla DLC, so it wasn't like the you know what? Actually, that was... Maybe I shouldn't start on the top of the castle. It's kind of cheating a little bit. So what I'm hoping with these next entries is for them to please just get back on track with those two additions, because those are the core pillars of Assassin's Creed. And the sad thing is that like Assassin's Creed 1, 2, Brotherhood of Revelations have better parkour than these modern Assassin's Creed games do, right? But they have made strides in Shadows to make it better. So I will give them points for that. Now let's thought I'd show a little bit of gameplay off as Naue. Just to kind of show you guys some of the things she can do. Double assassinations are back, like I mentioned beforehand, but you do have to have the Tanto equipped, if I can... where's in Shinobi? Am I... Oh, it's an assassin, that's what it is. Yeah, right here. While using a Tanto, now I can assassinate 2 targets. So that's how you're able to do double assassination. So she does not have double wrist blades like, say, Ezio does. And they have gotten rid of the, in terms of stealth, you don't have a bird anymore. And in terms of being able to, like, you know, like scout out locations and whatnot, right? So you do have to tag enemies and whatnot through Eagle Vision. And I will say, I think this breaks the game. I don't think now I should be able to see through walls and things like that. But it's just one of those mechanics that, unfortunately, that they put in place. I think if you're on high ground or something like that, sure, I'll give you that. And you have to visibly see the characters with your eyes. But the fact that, like, now it can just, you know, oh, heat vision mode, and you can see everything, I feel like it does break the game still, in a sense. So I do wish they would scale that back a little bit. But I also have another ability I could show you here too as well, where there are assassin abilities that can help you out. Yeah, right here, a legendary ability you throw onto a gear called, I can't remember what it's called, but essentially you get to throw kunai at the closest enemy after an assassination. So if you don't use a Tanto, for example, but you want a quote-unquote double assassination, this is a way you can achieve that same way, because there are different weapon types too as well. Like, I do like now it's other weapon types, right? Like, for example, these weapons, it's better crowd control, I find, and you're able to I feel like you're able to wipe out enemies faster. But for me personally, I've always just wanted a double assassination on hand at all times, so I've used a Tanto this entire playthrough, and also katana, because, you know, I mean, like, come on, it's a katana. And we'll dive deeper into gear and engraving and stuff like that too later on. But you got a range of abilities, as I'm showing you one of them called Lightning Kicks. Well, actually, I killed that guy with a boot to the face. You know, abilities that you would think, like, you've seen beforehand, right? I know, like, the Spartan Kick is back from Valhalla. You know what? Well, screw it. Let's go through. There's nothing to really write home about, I feel like. I'm still kind of mixed feelings on the progression in this game, because it's not as atrocious as Valhalla's node system. If you guys remember how fucking bizarre that leveling up system was, where, like, you had, like, really good abilities locked behind, like, dozens upon dozens of, like, nodes, right? And you didn't know where they were because everything was shadowed, right? It wasn't something like Pillars of Eternity, where, like, or not Pillars of Eternity, sorry, Path of Exile, where, like, you could at least see everything on the board. In Valhalla, you had to, like, unlock branches first, so it was a weird system, to say the least. But no, a lot I found in this game were kind of just basic stat upgrades again, so there wasn't really nothing to write home about. They still have the same system in terms of the hidden blade and how it works, right? If you don't level it up or there's enemies above you, you won't be able to kill them instantly, right? So you can wound them. So obviously some of the first things you want to upgrade in this game as Naue is, you know, being able to move more and more damage, right? So you could get that um, one hit kill back again, right? I still don't agree with this system. I've gotten yelled at by the AC community before. We're like, oh, well, you could just turn it off or turn instant kills on in the settings. Like, well, no, because this is how they designed the game, right? I always tend to play games how they're designed. I use everything that's at my disposal, right? So they say that this is how you're supposed to play. This is how I'm going to play it, right? I feel like the hidden blade should just be like if you could get in and you can stealth, you should be rewarded with an insta kill, right? Not the, oh, you did 1/4 damage because you didn't, you know, if we're talking like Assassin's Creed Origins where you had to like get a bunch of resources to like level it up. It's like, oh, you didn't farm 500 leather. Sorry, you can't kill this guy instantly. It's like, I'm still stabbing the blade in his fucking neck. He should be dead, you know? So, this path I don't agree with, but I do like what they did with the other things when it comes to the hidden blade. Like, for example, some enemies, if they're on alert and they're facing you, you can attack them, right? Because these samurai are obviously like very trained warriors, right? So if they catch you coming at them, either with their blades drawn or they're alert and they're ready to draw their blades, they're actually able to stop you, right? And counter that, which I think is really cool, because now you're talking about positioning. So there are perks like this called Hand of the Creed, where like, now he's just such a fucking badass now, you could just run up to anything. So that's cool. I like that. As I brought up earlier, I think this is a little too overpowered for Eagle Vision. I know this is how it's worked in other games, but I kind of like the path they were trying to go down, where they took away the bird and all this other stuff, because like, really what it got down to is you would come up to a location, you throw up your bird, you tag everything, and then you go and you know where everything is, right? I really did like the idea of like, you don't know where enemies are. Like, that's the one thing about Yasuke when you're playing as Yasuke that I like a lot. It's like, you don't know where people are, and you have to rely on your environment and, like, you know, really paying attention. So I kind of wish that Eagle Vision, which sounds weird to say as, like, a long-term Assassin's Creed fan, maybe they tooled it a little different, maybe. Maybe, you know what it should be? It shouldn't just be you're not able to see through walls. Like, if you could see... No, because I don't know how you would retool it, but I just find that this Eagle Vision does break that a little bit. And most people probably would disagree with me, but they're getting very close to almost like a Splinter Cell style stealth, where like you have to listen to everything in the environment, right? But, oh well. It is what it is. Some cool, like, this is cool. Some, you know, Ghost of Tsushima stuff, right? Double assassinations, like we brought up earlier. There's a rush assassination style if you use this weapon type, which is really cool. And then some basic assassination damage. Like Nikix, as you did see, I really like this ability because once you get them on the ground and you stab them, you do a shit ton of crit damage. It is really good for bosses. I haven't showed you guys this yet, but there is a grappling hook in the game, and it's alright. It's fairly responsive. It's not as good as Ghost. Ghost has a really good free-flowing grappling hook. This one's a bit more stationary. I was really excited for this one, but in my 75 hours of playing, I've never had to use this once, because I was thinking like, oh, you know, you're sneaking up on a samurai target you have to assassinate, and like dive through the pond, and you're just slowly moving through. No, I imagine you could force yourself into a setup like this, but in terms of it actually being like an actual useful skill, unfortunately, no, it is not. And then you got some basic tools here like the kunai, shurikens, a bell system, smoke bombs. Nothing to really write home about here. And then you have your 3 weapon types, right? And each weapon type typically has about 2-3 abilities. Some of them are passive, some of them are actual active abilities, right? You got Guard Breaker here that's really good at taking out armor. You have Viscerate that's like purely based on just taking down health. This is really good here too as well. So when you do this, you could drop a bomb, and if you have your smoke bombs leveled up, you could actually start getting some assassinations in there with your hidden blade. And then of course, there was Tidal Wave that you get at the very start of the game. I took it off because I find the other abilities were better. I'm not gonna lie to you, I never touched too much in this stream, but as I said, this is a more of a crowd control weapon, as you can see with something like Cyclone Blast. Entanglement, you could like grab enemies and like shift them around, slam them some other guys. And then I think I showed you guys a little bit of the Tanto here, where like there's a really good, this is a really good ability here, where you can pretty much just instantly assassinate someone while in combat. I highly recommend getting this if you're using a Tanto, because it just breaks some boss fights. Shadow Peach is pretty good. And of course, you know, some things like Backstab, where like if you hit him from behind, you get strip out armor, which is really good for big enemies, right? If you want to get rid of that armor super fast. But like, as you can tell, there's nothing too crazy here to rate home about, right? Like, it's not like a, oh my god, there's so much build diversity in terms of the perks, and you know, like, oh, I'm gonna like reshuffle all this stuff and, you know, and try something differently. When it comes to the mastery system, it is all very stationary. Like, the only things that you will ever change is if you don't like a certain ability, you might change it out for a different one, right? Like I did with the katana, right? Like, okay, I don't think Tidal Wave is really that good of an ability, so instead I got Guard Breaker and Eviscerate, right? That is pretty much as deep as this system goes. Everything else is just stat increases, right? Increased damage with consecutive hits, increased damage after a vault, less cooldown time with abilities, more tools, increased adrenaline gain, increased damage during the night, right? So like very basic things. So once you're done with this system, right, and you unlocked everything that you want to, there's also the rank 7 and 8. Actually, I think it goes up to rank 9, doesn't it? No, it goes up to rank 8, sorry. Because essentially, these ones... Oh no, I'm dumb, sorry. This goes up to rank 6, right? Up to the very top in terms of knowledge, and then it progresses after that. And essentially, these are all just random masteries that you could level up to higher numbers, right? So damage on vulnerable enemies, affliction damage, armor damage, posture attack damage, melee weapon damage, like just very critical damage, critical chance, right? So like, when it comes to the knowledge system, it is just all purely like, I want to say about 90% is just basic. Like 90% is basic, just stat increases, right? You're not going to get a lot of cool abilities from it, which is disappointing, because I think Assassin's Creed lately has been kind of having a pretty samey progression system, like skill tree. Like, I don't like plain skill trees. Like, if you have a plain skill tree, I feel like you should just not have a skill tree system in place, right? Like Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla just did something completely randomized, and Mirage and now this game, like you have your stealth tree, your marksman tree, and then you have your melee tree, right? And then they kind of just jarble that up in different ways, and I'm just like, it's not very interesting to me. And you know what? If they took out all the leveling systems in this game and you just unlocked certain things by doing quest lines and shit like that, I feel like you wouldn't lose anything and the game would probably actually be better. Because speaking about the knowledge system here, as you can see, it says next rank in 10 knowledge points, right? So you need to get knowledge to raise your knowledge level, right? And to raise your knowledge level, you need to do certain activities, because if you don't do these activities, you are locked out of all these nodes, right? And you just saw me do one of the activities, the horse archery, right? You know what? We'll go do one right now. Where's a big one? Where's a... Yeah, we'll do this. There are, I believe, 4 activities that gets you knowledge points. You have shrines that you pay respect to, gathering scrolls at temples. Oh, no, I lied. There's more. There's horse archery with Yasuke. There's, like, parkour runs you do with Naue. Then you have kata training with Yasuke. And then you have these Kyrie, meditation mini games with Naue, right? So I think that's 6. I think there's about 6 of these, like, activities that you do. So these 6 activities are like, oh, that doesn't sound too bad, right? 6 activities, and, you know, you do these, you level up your knowledge. The problem is, you're going to be doing these activities hundreds of times, right? And I'll tell you right now, after the first dozen or so, you are going to be bored out of your mind, because there's nothing to them. I will say the Naue meditation one can be somewhat engaging, especially if they have unique button presses. Unfortunately, I can't show you guys any of them because I have completed them all to get the platinum, but I imagine you've probably seen them on YouTube before or in any other reviews. So here we go. We will come to this temple here. And it's going to be like, oh, you have to collect... Or I should say, maybe I missed it. But I'll say, like, you have to gather 4 scrolls. Yeah, see. Pages. So there's 4 pages here. So you're like, okay. Alright, there's one over there. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run over here. And you're just going to do this dozens upon dozens of times. And you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, you know what? That's not too bad, right? It's not like it's a difficult task. You could do it fairly fast. And you're not wrong. But the problem with Ubisoft's designs is that they'll take one thing that's not objectively bad on itself, but they will stretch it out to a point that it's so bloated that it makes you hate it, right? Like, I don't think the knowledge system should be in place, because all this knowledge system does with getting you having to do these orange activities to earn these knowledge points is just to stretch out the progression system, right? Because they could completely scrap the knowledge system and just have the mastery system, and you'll just get points like how you do in the base game, right? By leveling up, killing targets, killing samurai. And then if you want to still have these, like, different nodes here for, like, the different, whatever, make this a master level instead, right? Instead of a knowledge, make it master level, right? Like, I'm level 66, so I got 6 master levels. Make these, like, an end game thing, right? Instead. And I feel like you would get a better response with that, because all this knowledge system is doing is just padding out more runtime and just irritating players, right? I don't think I'm ever gonna do all these because there's hundreds, like I said, right, on this map, And there we go. Now I have a knowledge point. And how close am I to the next rank? I think it was, yeah, I need 9 more to get the final thing. Or maybe I might do it just to just to have this final row here, right? But it doesn't, as a game developer, I feel like you should ask yourself a question that says, does this add anything to the game? And if I were to remove this from the game, how would it affect it, right? And if it either is, one, it doesn't change anything at all, or two, it makes the game better, then I feel like it should not be in the game, right? And I don't like this system for those reasons. This system is not in place to make the game more enjoyable. This is in place for you to put more time into the game, right? Especially if Ubisoft wants players playing this game for longer periods of time, like Valhalla, because they do have a Ubisoft Plus thing going on with Shadows, where like you can play this game for $17 a month, right? Ubisoft doesn't want you being this game within a month and only having to pay $17, right? They want you in the game playing for hundreds of hours, coming back, right? So in the end, they could actually get you paid more for Shadows than if you were to say to buy the copy outright. But I will say too, compared to Valhalla, I wasn't the biggest fan of Valhalla's map. I thought it was rather boring for the most part with some cool set locations. I think this is one of their better maps since Origins, actually. Yeah, no, Origins. Because Odyssey, though it would be really beautiful at first, and it is a beautiful game, it was very copy pasted, right? Like every town and city practically looked the same. So the only really unique things were probably the island change. Because like when you got to the bigger landmass and the bigger cities, it did kind of feel samey. But I will say each region feels very distinctive, right? Yamashiro is like just a long sprawling city. Omi is like this big lake right in the middle of it. And you got like Cat Island. I haven't been here yet, but I know there's some smaller islands with like cool training and stuff like that. Iga is like this valley of like rivers and mountains and waterfalls, and it's gorgeous. Um, I think yes, Yoshino. You get down over here during like the springtime. It's like all these cherry blossom trees, and it's gorgeous. And so you have like all these different regions that have um like its own unique identity, right? And I found it, and here's the thing too, 75 hours, you can see like there's still areas I have not touched yet. The map is big, right? Like this whole core area right here I have not explored yet. As you can tell, the difference between an explored area and a unexplored area, or sorry, an explored area and an unexplored area, right? So there's still plenty for me to see on this map if I wanted to continue playing. And in terms of me continuing to play, I still trying to debate if I'm going to do that or not. I feel like I achieved everything I wanted to do in this game. Obviously, I can do the rest of the shrines and temples. I lied. I said I did all the quests. I have one more quest left. I'll probably wrap this up. And obviously there's sync points, right? I could still go to. But I think I'm just gonna wait for the DLC that's coming out in the next month, right? That takes place on this island that was cut from the base game, which is a big no-no, Ubisoft. You don't do that. The rumors slash leaks were that this content wasn't finished. And so if they didn't cut this out, they were going to have to delay the game again. So they made a decision to say, fuck it. We're not delaying. We're cutting this out of the game, but we're going to use it as a pre-order bonus. So if you pre-order the game to boost our sales, we'll give you this for free. Which is so slimy. Which I highly disagree with. But So I showed you a little bit of Naoe's gameplay here. We'll play a little bit of Yasuke. And I know this was one of the big things that was coming out of the playtest and early access reviews and whatnot, is that people were saying, oh, there's no point to playing as Yasuke. He can't do what Naoe does. You know, so like I tried playing as this character the least amount possible. When it came to my playtime, I definitely played both characters fairly evenly. I found Yasuke kind of a good palate cleanser when it came to mixing up the gameplay, right?
All right.
Where, like, for example, Yasuke can't do, he can't do Hidden Blade assassinations, but he has his brutal assassination like you just saw right there, which is a little bit louder, right? But he can be... But for example, like, he has, like, a really good... Like, there you go. I just stealthed that entire entrance with silent arrows, right?
I must keep my weapon at the ready.
You know what? Actually, this reminds me, I think there's a thing about here about broken arrows, gain them. I think I might have gotten it. But yeah, like Yasuke I found really refreshing to play. Like, he has stealth abilities, right? Where, like, I need to take out a guard. I use silent arrows. Right? And I have a perk on right now where there's a 50% chance to bring back arrows into my inventory. Yeah, 50% chance to refill ammo on headshot, right? As well, too, if you're like, you know what? I'm not going to do any of this parkour shit, and you just want to, like, clear, like, doorways and stuff like that, Yasuke is just... He's just a powerhouse. It is very hard, I find, to die as this guy. He deals a shit ton of damage, and he takes little. Even though I'm playing on expert difficulty, and I also have a armor set that actually reduces my health to 25%, but I deal more damage even more so, I can still tank a lot of hits. Which doesn't even matter anyways, because I have like 11 rations. I don't think
skills have grown.
I was just trying a new blade. I don't think I like this one too much. Yeah. Is it saying I can't because I'm in a restricted area? Or no, I think it's not just doing something. No. So like this one does a little bit oh, it does way less damage. But it does bleed. I find the bleed is just busted in this game. So like that guy just died from bleed. Owie. We'll use one of my abilities here. Oh. Right, so as you can like see a little bit here with this gameplay, like Yasuke is no pushover. And I find once you start to get abilities, it really does open up their um well, ability to do some cool stuff, right? It's definitely one of my main criticisms is that this game does start out very slow. Like, I found my first about 4 or 5 hours of playing the game going like, oh god, what am I getting myself into? But, as you can see, like, you can stealth as Yasuke if you really want to, and it's not that difficult. I also just like getting into combat situations too as well, right? But when it comes to parkour related things, so definitely Nawe is the only way to go because Yasuke can't parkour for shit, right? So there is that. And one of the big things too as well, talking about like loot and abilities and whatnot, it is nice that this game did launch with lots of legendaries and outfits and whatnot, because one of the big criticisms at launch for Valhalla was that there was actually, you guys, I don't know if you remember this or not, because I played Valhalla at launch, and one of the criticisms was that there were more, is either there was more outfits and gear in the store, or it was the same amount in the base game. Because I think there was only like 6 or 7 outfits in the entire game, right? Like, it was very little content at launch, because one of the criticisms for Odyssey was that the game just constantly flooded you, right, with like all these items and stuff like that, and you would just have to kind of shift through it all, right? Whether dismantling, upgrading, or constantly changing your gear to meet the level requirement, right? So it seems like Shadows kind of took a little inspiration from both Valhalla and Odyssey, right? Because you will get gear, but you're not getting flooded with hundreds of things all the time, right? But there's also plenty of legendary weapons, right? As you can see. Legendary outfits. And mind you, like, I don't even have all the gear in the game, right? Like, there are, let's see if I could find one. There's probably one around here somewhere. Like right here, for example, like there's probably still, well, actually we could probably get the exact number here. Like there's still 18 legendary chests that I haven't collected yet, right? So like there's a lot of legendary gear in this game. Mind you, it is not unique. For example, like this is a legendary set, but of course this is the same outfit as oh, I don't have any more. But essentially this is the same outfit as your starting one, but just a different color, right? So instead of it being more like Valhalla, where like outfits were like completely unique and you couldn't get them anywhere else, legendary in this sense means that there's a legendary engraving attached to it, right? Haven't found a legendary horse though. I've only found a couple rare ones. I don't know if there is legendary ones or not, but yeah. So I just wanted to kind of touch note on that. But you know what? Let's head. We're talking about gear lots right now, so we'll actually head over to the blacksmith because I do have some points on that. Actually, there's a couple of things too I wanted to say in regards to. I don't think they actually do. They have. I've heard some people talk about that the enemy types aren't really enough. It's pretty limiting. I never found that to be the case. I enjoyed the combat throughout the entire experience. But if you were to compare it to other games, then yes, there is not that many. I think there's maybe like 7 or 8 enemy types. Oh, I know this is definitely something I wanted to talk about, was the storytelling in these RPG games needs to change. So, Shadows approaches storytelling like how Valhalla did it. I want to say there's still elements of it in Origins and Odyssey. Maybe not so much Odyssey, more so Origins. And it's the sense of like you could tackle your targets in any sort of order, right? And Valhalla was definitely the biggest offender to this because there were so many provinces, so many different storylines. Essentially, with them having it more of like a tackle it at your own pace and your own decisions, is that they couldn't have all these characters interact with each other, right? Because player A might do these story arcs in these orders, and then player B will do it in this order, right? Or say you do one story arc over here, well, you can't use these characters that are on this story arc over here because you technically haven't met both of them yet, right? So all these arcs had to be in self-contained stories, and it was very disjointed because of that, right? This game starts out very strong in terms of its linear storytelling, but it then again does the exact same thing with the Shinbaku, right? Where it's like, okay, we gave you like the 4 or 5 hour intro, go kill all these targets, and there's no order, right? So you'll do these stories in different orders of how you want to, right? Because they're all scattered throughout the provinces, and you'll meet different people, right? But because you can tackle this in certain ways, none of these people can interact with each other, or your character can't make comments, right? There can't be growth because the game won't be able to tell, or I guess technically they could, but that require more effort. But the game doesn't recognize what you've done and what you haven't done, right? So again, everything has to be self-contained into these mini chapters where it just it doesn't work. It's broken storytelling. And even though like this is off topic, Star Wars Outlaws is a prime example of this too as well. The intro was really good, and then the middle part of the game was just disjointed storytelling, like tackle the missions how you wanted to, and then the ending was fucking amazing, right? And it's very frustrating because if you took out that bloat and you just made Outlaws a linear story game, it would have been fantastic throughout the entire experience, because I was enjoying like the last couple hours of Outlaws too. I'm like, this is great. You're doing a heist. You recruit all these people. It's going great. And it just doesn't work here, right? And the bad thing about Shadows, and this is, I will say, spoiler alert-ish, I'm not going to dive too much into storytelling, but mind you, this is a platinum review, so obviously if you're watching this, spoilers. I feel like I shouldn't have to say that, but I will now. This story just ends, right? There's no, like, the credits roll, but the story just kind of stops. There's no finale to it, because I imagine the finale was with this DLC, right? Because it continues the main story. So even then, I can't even say like, okay, well, at least in Act 3, it all comes together in the end, right? You got a good start, you got a bloated, disjointed middle, and then you have a tight end. I can't even say that. The game just ends, right? So Shadows definitely pays the price for, again, this non-linear storytelling. And I just really want Ubisoft to bring back sequences at least, right? Or you know what? I like this objective board system, right? You'll find these different leagues and different groups, and I liked being able to like go out into the world, find clues. There was no objective marker telling me where everybody was. Oh yeah, do not have guided what's it called? Yeah, don't have guide exploration mode on. Play the game on expert, have stealth on expert, because in terms of stealth difficulty, I can't bring it up at the moment, but essentially it gives enemy AI the vertical eyes, essentially, right? Like you can't just hide up on rooftops in clear daylight in the middle of the like just in the open, right? Like enemies will spot you. If you don't have that turned on, it makes the stealth an absolute joke in this game, and I think it kind of ruins it. So have expert stealth on, expert combat, and have guided exploration mode set to off, right? Because as it shows here, you can play the game where it's like, all right, go from here to here to here to here to do that, get that done, do that, blah blah blah, right? When you have it off, you're finding, you're finding clues. You're talking to NPCs. Sometimes you'll just run across, like you'll come across an enemy, and you're like, who the heck is this? And you'll kill them, and then you'll have like this unknown organization, but you're like, oh my god, I want to look into that more, right? And so you have that investigation side of the game, which works really well. And I like all of this, right? It all works. But in terms of the actual main storytelling, though, I think Ubisoft should readopt a more linear storytelling, because that's where they will find more success and you'll have better told stories. I'm not saying, like I said, I'm not saying to get rid of this system, because like I said, this works very well when you're hunting down these different groups. It's a lot of fun, but the main story itself should have more structure, because otherwise this is just going to continue to hurt narratives in the Assassin's Creed franchise going forward, which as an AC fan I don't want. um we finally got Templars back in an Assassin's Creed game after what would that be, 10 plus years since Syndicate. So we have our first group of Templars back as well, which was really exciting to see. Which was not very exciting to see was not having any assassins in the game, which is disappointing. And I'll talk a bit about that later. But for now, we'll while we're here, we'll kind of take a look at the blacksmithing system and gear. As you can see in the top right, you have a bunch of different materials that you'll gather out in the world. And as you play the game, you can where's the, like for example, this is a level 41 blade. You can spend these resources and money to level it up, right? So as you play, you'll level up gear like if you have gear that you like, you can continuously level it up with you, but you'll also find gear at different stages, right, throughout the game, doing certain missions and quest lines. You can also dismantle gear, right, gear that you're not going to use. So for example, I don't want to dismantle this piece of gear because you see weapon DPS highlighted, which means that this weapon will have higher damage than even my level 60 legendaries, right? So weapons like this are actually really good. Are really good to keep, but I will dismantle the other ones because they don't have anything special about them. So I'll get like, I don't know, we'll see, 300 maybe? Yeah, like 300 or so. Iron. And of course, the engraving system has come back from Odyssey, and it's been in Valhalla. It's back in Shadows again here too as well, right? There is... Where is it? Am I blind? I think I am blind.
Thank you.
I bought a certain thing using keys in the exchange. Oh, that's Naue. Oh, never mind. That's Naue. I thought that was uh Yasuke's gear. But I guess I might as well talk about this while I'm here. Kind of like how like the opal system in Valhalla and the contracts like in Odyssey and the Haka chest in Origins, you can earn the premium equipment from the shop for free with a secondary currency that you earn in game, right? So in this game, they're called keys. And I found that keys are not that difficult to earn, especially if you complete the projects. I feel like they've been pretty generous with these ones. I imagine if they don't, you know, give you too many projects over a period of time, and you keep buying gear, then it would start to probably get pretty stingent. But like, you're getting like 1,500 keys here, or 25 here, 2,000 here, right? So like, for someone like me, where I never engaged in buying premium content from Assassin's Creed games, because I think it's absolutely retarded if you are buying this stuff. One, because it's like, just like, I like my games to not look stupid, as simply put. Um, and Call of Duty is really suffering from this right now, right? Like, you got Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles running around in a military shooter, right? You got fucking Cardi B, or whatever the hell that one rapper is, and like a hot pink suit, like, you know what I mean? Like, this things that make the game goofy. This stuff I don't like because it makes the game. I don't want to say Assassin's Creed is historically accurate, but like, you're in a setting, right? So if you're running around on unicorns and you're beating up things with a giant Q-tip, like you were in, say, like Odyssey, like, I just don't know why people buy that type of stuff. So I don't engage with it. But there is the odd time where you have like these cool little pieces, like, okay, a dragon's tooth, that could be in the base game. I will buy this, but I am not buying this with money. I use keys, right? So yeah, and it's like I showed you, you earn keys by finding them out in the world. There are weekly quests for called anomalies that you'll see up here at the very top, and it's different things like killing, like very simple things like killing Ronin, winning fights in tournaments, gathering different types of resources. Like, they're weekly quests, right? Essentially what it boils down to. It is better than the Opal system by far. The Opal system I did not engage with. I thought it was absolutely garbage and grindy. It was not worth it. This one is definitely more rewarding, and I can see how it would get people to come back every Thursday on the reset day to earn keys, right? Because they'll just keep throwing new gear in the store, right? And maybe there might be something that you want. Because, like, speaking about stupid shit, I don't like this type of stuff. I think it's ridiculous. Like, this is fine. Like, I get this. Like, I even think the one on Naue looks really nice. I like the flowers and the hair and stuff like that. But when you're talking about, like, you know, petals, like, flowing randomly from a weapon and things like that, I just think that type of stuff breaks my immersion. I don't even want to use the word immersion, because it's not like I'm thinking I'm immersed in this world in a sense like, oh yeah, I feel like I'm Yasuke or I'm Naue, but like, in the setting, immersed in the setting, I should say. But then you just have like these absolutely, like, ridiculous things, right? Where like, I'm not gonna run around with this horse. You know what I mean? I guess like this one, is this one animated heavily? I guess this one doesn't look too bad, but then the creature again like has like this like, oh yeah, there goes Yasuke the samurai riding his sea mount, right? Like, so this type of stuff I've always disagreed. And the other big thing is the utilities. And you are probably wondering, well, D Blunt, he talked about not engaging in the system, but it says that you own one of the things right there. What are you saying, you hypocrite? Well, they give you 300 free Helix points, right? And the one thing that I did buy was the legendary chest pack for 300. Because it's just one of those things where I'm like, okay, well, if I'm going to use my Helix points, I don't really need to know about Naue shit, shrines, and stuff like that. At least legendary chest has some utility for me that I can just know where everything is, right? Which does break my game a little bit, right? Because those are supposed to be found through exploration, but now I know where every single legendary chest is on the map. But of course, every Assassin's Creed game, they have all this shit, right? Resources, money. I'm surprised they're not going to start. I guess they don't have loot boxes in this, but I wouldn't be shocked if they do. With how the ally system works, I have no idea why you would even bother buying these outfits, but anyways, that is that system. I like the key system a lot better than previous entries, but the store is still garbage. It should not be here. It is a single player game. I will die on that hill. You do not need in-game stores for single player games, right? If you want to sell DLC, that is perfectly fine. It's been done in games since Horse Armor in Oblivion, right? So if you want to sell weapons and outfits, whatever, sell them in like $2 packs or something like that. I don't think anyone would really bat an eye, right? But you want to sell things for $20, like DLC price, like cosmetics? Really? No, I will never agree with that. I think you're retarded. I'm sorry to use that word, but I think you should be looked at for being insane. Why you would spend $20 on a weird cosmetic piece in a video game, in a single player game. But that is just me. But going back to the engraving system, it's pretty much similar to Valhalla and Odyssey, where you're gonna have a long list of, debuffs, buffs, unique abilities, and you can pretty much just mix and match, find your best combination. I'm just trying to see if there's something here. There's one that I really like where it's like, for every non-legendary you have equipped, you get like 15% damage. I think it's Naue. Yeah, right here, 15% damage per non-legendary gear. Like, that's awesome. I love that. But I think I might... See, I like this because it gives me critical chance. But I think I might use this one piece that I got from the exchange here because it's vulnerability damage, which is good. And it gives me more critical... But I lose that chance, but I think I might... I want to put on this... I think I'm going to use this instead, though, this Dragon Tooth for now. But yeah, and this is just how basic it is. It works. It's not as grindy as I find as Odyssey was. I feel like Odyssey was very, very grindy, especially when you had to like level up the blacksmith and stuff like that. I feel like you were dealing with just a ridiculous amount of resources you had to grind for. Valhalla wasn't the worst, but you had to be very, very selective in your upgrading. But I think they did add post launch that you can dismantle or like take out all the resources you invested in. But because there's such a finite amount until you unlock the ability to buy them from the shop, is that you were pretty conservative with your spending. I find in this game, the amount of resources you get,
Go safely.
you're not punished as much when it comes to upgrading gear and whatnot. Did my game just crash? Well, I was about to talk about performance and whatnot. Well, I think I might be lying about this. I think I might have crashed once before, but maybe not. So, in terms of like a 75-hour playthrough to experience practically no crashing until now, funny enough, and very limited bugs, this is definitely the most stable Ubisoft release in recent memory. So, clearly, the numerous delays did help this release because, to be honest with you, I don't even want to know what this game looks like when it was supposed to release in October of last year. Because I feel like we might have had another Assassin's Creed Unity crisis on our hand. But yeah, like the build diversity, I feel like it's good enough in this game. It's not super deep where, like, as you can see, you can actually do loadouts where like you're gonna have like 5 different loadouts for every single character, and you know you're gonna spend hours upon hours of testing and doing all this crazy stuff. The game suffers from the obvious, like, there's clearly
You're sweet.
good perks to use and clearly not good ones to use. So like though there's going to be plenty of engravings you can do and there's plenty of gear sets, there are clear winners for like which ones are the best and which ones are okay and which ones are just like, why would you even bother? Like with any RPG, right? There's always going to be the best shit to use. I'm just going to touch on this very lightly because this is not my cup of tea. They do have a settlement system as well in this game, like Valhalla did. But in this case, you can actually place things down like in a sim system, right? I haven't really touched this too much myself. As you explore, you'll unlock buildings, right? Some of these buildings are actually very important and you need to place down and engage in the system regardless, right? For example, the forge, you get to the level 3 right away. Gain additional scouts, increasing your companions, and gain more hideouts, gain more resources, better rations, more XP, right? Like, this is a really good one. Gain more XP, etc. Right? And you'll get like different pathways, different types of like lamps and structures, banners, fences. So like as you explore the world, you'll find, merchants and stuff like that, right? But guard towers, alarm bells, right? So you can really make, maybe now that they patched the game, because the reason why I didn't really touch this too much during my playthrough is, for whatever reason, when you went to the hideout on performance mode, it was like less than 30 frames a second. It would get like down to like 25, 20, and it was very choppy, and it was not enjoyable at all to visit your hideout. So I spent the least amount of time possible here. But as you can tell, hopefully, if my capture equipment is not bugging out, it is now 60 frames like it's supposed to be. You can get like cats and stuff like that. Like you can, I imagine people are going to do crazy stuff with this, and you'll probably see some things online about really cool hideouts. I've done a very basic like layout of just planting the buildings down to get their bonuses, right? Because for me, there's 10 levels, right, to a hideout, and each of them has like rewards. So my entire goal was just to place the buildings down, get the level ups, get the abilities, and then I left it at that, right? I haven't really engaged in the system since then. Because you're looking at things like at level 5, right? Reducing engraving costs of the forge by 20%. Reduce gear upgrade costs by 20%. Scouts bring back gear, and sometimes that gear can be very good, right? So that's just as much how much I really engaged with the system. It's really cool. Obviously, it's another avenue for Ubisoft to monetize, which I think how they looked at it pretty much. It wasn't like, oh, let's do something cool. But yeah, maybe I'll look at this again later now that it's 60 FPS, and I'll make something cooler. But you don't, unless you force yourself to be here, like there's no reason for you to spend much time in your hideout, right? Like you only ever really came back here the odd time for questing, right? Where you had to talk to Yasuke or maybe someone from your group here called the League, right? You might come back here for a brief couple minutes, but that's essentially the hideout, where it's cool, but like I don't know, it's not my cup of tea. And that's the funny thing, right? Because like in Fallout 4, I love the settlement building mode, so this would be right up my alley. But the difference is in Fallout 4, especially survival mode, those settlements became very integral to your playstyle, right, and to your survivability. Here it's just kind of more of a gimmick, I feel like, besides like the 10 perk bonuses. I wonder. There's actually one thing I wanted to do because is in terms of hidden trail. Here we go. Let's do this because I want to talk about Assassin's Creed in general and the lack of them in Assassin's Creed. Because it has been a pet peeve of mine for a while now.
I need to keep out of sight.
And if you want to know a little fun fact, I had one of the highest reviewed, reviews on Xbox for Odyssey because I pointed this out. And the gist of it is that like Odyssey is a really good game. There's some issues with it, obviously, some Ubisoft design choices with bloat and whatnot, especially in the second half of the game. But it's a fun game, right? But the problem is it's not an Assassin's Creed game. And some people, or well, a lot of people agree with me, but a lot of people also hated the fact that I said that. Because what it boils down to is that it's just a Greek adventure RPG game with a couple things sprinkled in that's Assassin's Creed to justify using the IP, right? Sure, you have like the Order of the Ancients, where like preludes to Templars, but because it's so disconnected from the Templars, it didn't have that same impact, right? And because it takes place before Assassin's Creed Origins, you can't have the hidden ones. So there's no Assassin's Creed. There's no Creed in Assassin's Creed in Odyssey. And also, remember I was talking about keys too as well beforehand? Here's a prime example of that. You'll just find keys kind of just out and about. Not a whole lot. You mainly get your keys from the weeklies, but yeah, you'll find the odd like couple hundred or so just plain. But yeah, going back to my point, where like it seemed like these last entries, there hasn't been that much assassinating going on in Assassin's Creed, and it's a little frustrating in that sense, because Origins you can give the pass on, right? Because Origins, well, as the title implies, is the origin of the Assassin's Order, right? The hidden ones before it became the Creed that we knew today, or as we knew, you know, would be in Assassin's Creed 1. And so sorry. I'm getting all my thoughts mixed up here, I guess. But so when it came to Odyssey, you know, like I said, you had the Order of the Ancients, but that's very loosely tied to, you know, the pre-Templars. You have no hidden ones, no assassins. You have no hidden blade. It essentially was its own isolated experience, and only very loosely tied in the modern day setting, right? Valhalla came around, and you're like, oh my god, this Viking. You saw the trailer, right? And you're like, oh my god, this Viking wearing his wrist blade on the outside, showing everyone where it is. Oh, that's cool. I wonder what type of, like, he's an assassin, he's a Viking? That's crazy. And then you find out, no, Eivor is not an assassin. He was just gifted the hidden blade and made it not so hidden because, you know, he's a Viking. And then the hidden ones took a backseat that entire game, right? Of course, the Romans kicked them all out of England, so you had all these like abandoned bureaus, sorry. And then the hidden ones that did come in terms of Basim and Hatham, or where the hell his little protege's name was, they were in the intro for a little bit, and like Basim would make a couple appearances in random quests, like in random story arcs. But essentially, they were set to the side and were just relegated to contracts, right? Of just killing, you know, ancient, like killing Order members, right? And that's essentially like their entire presence in that game. And that's why Mirage was such a breath of fresh air, because you're like, oh my god, we have hidden blades, we have the hidden ones, we actually have, you know, assassin shit happening. This is great. So then when it came to Shadows, I'm like, okay, maybe we're back to having assassins in Assassin's Creed. Well, no, we don't. And it's only kind of partially. So there was a disgruntled assassin that came to Japan a while back because he heard about Templars expanding in the region. So he's not technically part of the Order anymore, right? Like, he was kicked out of the Creed for breaking one of the rules. I think he killed an innocent. He's like, okay, well, fuck, I gotta do something. So he found Naoe's mother and trained her to be an assassin, right? So then she started her own little creed, and then she also got other people trained, right? And one of these paths that I'm currently doing right now, the Path of Silence, is one of those training grounds, right? This was used to train people part of the Iki. But here's the kicker, though, right? Though they were technically a creed, and they were honoring the creed that this Spaniard brought to the island, they weren't technically part of the creed, right? This was just some offshoot branch of the creed, right? They had no ties to the Order in Europe at all. And it's the same thing with the Templars too as well, right? Like, as you saw earlier, the Templars are in this game, but even some of the dialogue in this story arc and some of the letters you find is the Templars don't even give a fuck about Japan. The one Templar that came here was like, oh yeah, like they do not give a shit about this place. I came here on my own will to like kind of like do my own shit and prove them wrong, right? And spread my influence and get more power. So even though they have elements of assassins and Templars in this game, it's still disconnected from the rest of the series still. And I'm still waiting for an Assassin's Creed game that has assassins and Templars. Sure, Naue has a hidden blade. Sure, she has her little group called the League, right? That has the symbol that they adopted. But I'm sorry I'm not taking a 10-year-old freaking boy as part of a member, a widow, a teenage girl that just kind of poisons people, a sumo wrestler. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is not an actual league of assassins. It's just a group of people that Naue and Yasuke brought together, and they took the creed that Naue's mom was part of as part of their own thing, right? So it's it may sound weird coming from my mouth where I'm kind of going back and forth, but essentially they adopt the assassins and Templars in this game, but it's very loosely and it's not tied to the rest of the series. And I'm just disappointed by that because I want a mainline game that has assassins and Templars fully, right? Not like, oh, the assassins were here, but they're gone now type shit, right? I want to see the Order in full swing. I want Templars. I just want well-written Templars and assassins again. You know what I mean? Like, if you remember, like, the Ezio trilogy, man, you met, like, assassins that were badass and cool. Ezio was badass and cool, and you had some really good, well-written, like, antagonists and stuff. I found recently these bad guys have all been just very generic, just, you know, targets on a list that you kill, and that's essentially it, right? Like, so my hopes for the DLC are in this game is that Naue will actually form a creed, like an order of Japanese assassins in Japan, right? Not like this, oh, I'm honoring my mother who was like kind of part of like a random creed that she adopted from a, you know, a European that came here once a little bit ago. Like, no, I want like we're in full contact with the creed on the mainland. This is an official creed, and we are fighting Templars. So we'll see if that happens. Because right now, this game barely justifies, again, the Assassin's Creed title, right? Because Yasuke's a samurai. And he's not even a samurai for very long. He's a Ronin by the end of this game. And now, again, it's not an assassin. She's a shinobi. She's not part of the creed. So, like, sure, you have a few Templars in this game, and you know, there were bureaus before of this offshoot. Like, it's still very loosely, again, tied to Assassin's Creed. So, I just want an Assassin's Creed game that earns its name, I guess, the long and short of it. So, I'm sorry for this kind of side, you know, rant, but that's that's just my thoughts on that anyways. Because with the leaks of the new Assassin's Creed game, it sounds like, again, it's gonna have absolutely nothing to do with with assassins. It sounds like you're a witch during the witch trials of like the 1600s, and you're gonna have some. It's gonna be more like more magic fantasy based, kind of like how Valhalla and Odyssey was, right? And it sounds like it has nothing to do with assassins again, but we'll have to see. That's a gorgeous sight. And I will say, there are some real gorgeous vantage points in this game that you'll see. They'll make you stop and look. So I feel like I kind of showed everything, really, what Shadows has to offer in kind of small, bite-sized pieces. I think I've shown... I think I showed practically everything that can be shown in this game, besides maybe a couple of the mini games that aren't that important, to be honest. So we talked about combat. I showed some combat. We talked about stealth and like how it's not up to par with previous entries from the series, but it's the best in the RPG trilogy. Series, sorry now. Talked about the cash shop and how trash that is. We talked about the progression system and the knowledge system, how I don't like it, and objectively just stretches it out to, you know, run playtime longer. We talked about playing on expert mode, expert stealth and combat with guide exploration mode off. We talked a little bit about build diversity, the blacksmithing system being a vastly improved system compared to Odyssey. And I would say it's better than Valhalla in my opinion, but that's, again, more up to each individual person and what they think. And we talked about the pacing, like how it starts out pretty slow in terms of like your ability to do things, right? Like I think the game's story starts out really good, but in terms of gameplay, you're very limited to just light and heavy attacks. And it does take a while until you start learning, you know, like new moves and getting new tools and stuff like that, right? Because you're very limited in the beginning. And to be honest with you, I think that does harm the experience. Like you will have people that will play this game for 5 or 10 hours and they'll be like, well, I gave this game a try. It's boring, I didn't like it, and then they move on, rightfully so, right? Justifiably so. So I do think the game shoots itself in the foot in that sense, because yeah, once you do get abilities and you unlock more of the stuff, the gameplay really does open up and you get more variation, right? But the problem is you have to sink time into it, and no player should ever have to put hours upon hours into a game before it gets good. I'm a firm believer of that. If your game is not fun in the first few hours, I think players have the right to bounce. Mind you, have I played games where, you know, you had to put 5 or 10 hours in before it really opened up? Or maybe, like, you played the game for a few hours and you didn't like it, but then you came back, you know, years later or something like that, and you're like, oh my god, I like this game. Then sure, yeah, like, that's happened to me plenty of times, but when I hear players talk about Shadows and say like, oh yeah, like, well, I bounced off because I thought it was boring still after like 10 hours. And I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. I've been Assassin's Creed fan since day one. I've got the Platinum Trophy on all the RPG games. So my review might be a little biased. And obviously, I'm a type of player I'm able to tolerate, you know, that slow start for the game to open up and get better as you get more stuff, right? So
You hear me?
well, that startled me for a little bit.
Hey, you all right? We will end you.
I'll be sore tomorrow.
Sorry. I got caught off guard by that. So, you know, like, I knew I was gonna play this game before, all the controversies, all the issues and stuff like that I've labeled. I knew I was gonna play this game regardless because I put, like 15 years into this series. I've loved practically every entry for different reasons. Like, I actually liked Valhalla, and I know a lot of people didn't, but I liked it. Was it bloated? Yes. Was the story arcs, disjointed and poor? Yes. But, like, there was just something I liked about it. I think Eivor as a main character pretty much carried that game for me. I liked Eivor a lot. I liked Bayek a lot, right? I think Bayek deserves a sequel game at the very least, let alone a trilogy. I liked Cassandra. They were all really great characters. When it comes to Shadows, I think the only characters I really liked were Naue and Yasuke. But even then, they're not that strong of characters at the end of it. And you want to talk about bugs? There's one right there. So yeah, like that's probably one of the biggest weak points of Shadows, and something you've probably heard over the review period is that, like, oh yeah, Shadows is a fun game to play, it's a nice world to explore, yada yada yada, but I found the characters not that compelling, and I would agree with that sentiment. The supporting cast are all very forgettable. I would do quest lines for a certain guy, and then I would meet them later in the storyline, and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, character that I met, 12 hours ago," and I'm like, "Who?" Even though I just did a full like story arc for them, right? So it's one of those things where I kind of just went through the motions in some story beats because I generally did forget who these people are, and I don't think they really tell you who they are or like what you did for them. Let me see if I could. Where's like yeah, like they'll give you like little like blips, right? But in terms of like what you actually did for them, you won't. They don't tell you, right? There's no quest log, I don't think, where it says like, oh, these are the quests you've completed, and so you can kind of like give yourself refreshers. Um, you don't have that ability, right? Compared to say like Odyssey and Origins, where you'd be like, oh, I did this quest. Oh, okay, I remember that. Over here, it's like if you forget, like you're kind of you're kind of out of luck unless you look it up online, right? Well, that's a different story. But I think that's really, I think that's gonna be it, you guys, in the terms of uh, of this casual review. I think I've kind of touched on everything I wanted to. Oh, actually, funny enough, there is a season system in this game that I actually do really enjoy. Um, Obviously there's the 4 seasons, but each season is divided into 2 parts, an early and later. So you kind of have 8 sections, right? And so yeah, you'll have like the entire area covered in snow. Right now we are in fall at the moment, so soon this map will be covered in snow. It doesn't change too much in terms of gameplay. In the wintertime, if you're in deep snow, you'll run a little bit slower, and there are certain quest lines that are actually tied to the seasons, and the biggest obvious one would be the Winter Raiders, where you would have to attack them in the winter, right? Because that's when they're most active. Funny thing about this is this is a light spoiler. Skip 10 seconds if you don't want to hear it. I found them all in a cave. during spring when they were like hibernating. So I killed them all in one go. So I thought that was very unique and really cool. But yeah, I've enjoyed my time with Assassin's Creed Origins. I don't regret playing this game one bit. Mind you, was it a big commitment? Yeah, you're looking at like around 40 to 50 hours if you just want to play the main story and kind of just move on with your life. And then if you're talking about a platinum, you're talking more like 60-ish or so. Mind you, I kind of dilly-dallied around for quite a bit, so that's why mine clocked in at about 75 hours. Um, and yeah, we talked about structure and, past designs holding back Ubisoft, especially when it comes to storytelling. Um, if you guys don't want to spend full price on this game and you want to give it a chance, as I brought up earlier, Ubisoft Plus, you get, I think it's about $17 or so a month. You can play Assassin's Creed Shadows, right? That's their Game Pass equivalent. So if you don't want to commit the $70-$80 or where the hell it is, um, you could give it a go like that, right? And you could put a lot of time in a month. You could beat this game in a month if you really wanted to, and then move on. And you only paid $17, and for $17, I would say yes. I think it is an easy sell for $17. But when you're talking about full price, um, there's a couple caveats with that, right? I think if you're an Assassin's Creed fan and you've enjoyed not so much an Assassin's Creed fan in general, but if you've been a fan of the uh, RPG games, I think you will enjoy this experience at the very least. Right? But if you are an Assassin's Creed fan that has not liked the direction that these RPG games have been going lately, you probably won't like Shadows because essentially it is more of the RPG formula. Refined more, I'll give them that. It's refined more, but at the end of the day, it's still a less it's a lesser version in terms of like parkour, stealth, storytelling, etc., right? Um, and I don't know. I've been bouncing back and forth between what I would rate this game out of 10. And I want to say this too as well, because I'll say this in every single review that I do. My review scale is not like IGN's and whatnot, right? Like if you get a 7 out of 10, the game does not mean it's dog shit like on the other ones. I don't know where that came from or why that's in people's mentality. If you get like a 7 out of 10, your game is dog shit. I hate that. For me, 5 means average. Like Angry Joe, right? How Angry Joe does it. 5 means average, 6 means above average. You're starting to get to good. 7 means good, 8 means great, 9, 10 means amazing, right? And I'm bouncing between a 7.5 and an 8 out of 10 for this game. It is not a terrible game like the media, or not the media, sorry, what like Twitter and stuff like that would have you believe. It is not a terrible game, but it's also not a masterpiece like you'll see some people also promoting this game. I think it's a fine game. It runs well. It looks nice. I enjoyed some of the subtle improvements they made from the previous RPG entries, but there is still so much holding it back that docks at a lot of points too as well, right? In terms of storytelling, memorable characters. I personally dock it a little bit in the terms that there's still not assassins in the Assassin's Creed game, and Templars still not really having a main presence in this, even though they're now the Templar Order. Way past, they've been Templars for a long ass time now. Never mind, what am I talking about? It's like the 1600s or 1400s. No, 1600s, I believe, right? Am I embarrassing myself right now? 1600s, right? Yeah, because you have firearms. So it'd be the 16. '16th century, not the 1600s, but I think I'm gonna land. Ooh, I wrote down 7.5, but you know what? I will commit to that. For my rating on the D Blunt scale, I will give this game a 7.5 out of 10. It is a good game. It's nothing crazy special. It's not amazing. It's not horrible or mediocre. It's a good game. It does start to wear itself out in certain elements, and in terms of its knowledge system and some other things, which does dock it quite a bit in terms of my scale. But at the end of the day, if you want to put in 20 hours, 30 hours and beat the game, you can. If you want to put in 50, you can. If you want to put 100 hours, you can. So you do have that value proposition too as well. If you're a gamer that thinks that way, right? The whole dollar an hour thing, right? You want 100 hours. If you buy a full price game, you could definitely get it here. Like I said at the start of this review, sorry, not interview. There's still lots I can do in this game at 75 hours. There's still knowledge things I have to do. There's still huge chunks of the map I haven't explored, and there's still legendary chests and other things I haven't done. But in terms of getting the platinum and stuff like that, rolling credits, I think I'm going to leave it here. Yeah. And as a side note, I just wanted to bring up a couple things. I know I've been kind of offline here for a few months. I've been kind of, trapped with work and whatnot, right? Because we've been playing through The Witcher 1. And I will get back to The Witcher 1. I was just distracted by a lot of things like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and some other fantastic games, like even like games like Assassin's Creed Shadows. But hopefully we can kind of get back onto that and play some more Witcher 1. I have other platinums that I did do, and I do have some notes on them for a video. Just let me know if you guys want to see more of those, because I have Space Marine 2, which is a game that I enjoyed a lot. I did Star Wars Outlaws. Helldivers 2 I had a lot of fun doing. Guardians of the Galaxy, Dragon Age Veilguard. So I've done a handful of platinums in the recent months, but for whatever reason, I just got the platinum today, and I really wanted to jot down some notes and kind of give my opinion on the matter. And I think, actually, I wonder what does Assassin's Creed. So I gave it a 7.5. I'm curious to see what the actual critic score is and what the open critic scores. So the average is 81. Actually, the player rating is 90. Let's look at that's Open Critic. Let's see what Metacritic is. So reviewers gave it an 81 with 89 reviews. And the user score is actually a 6.5. So it's one less than me, which I can see. Especially if you're tired of the of the Ubisoft formula. But I'm also seeing a lot of 0 out of 10s and stuff like that. Yeah, there's lots of I am just kind of scrolling through this. I'm seeing lots of sevens and eights. So if I had to guess, if I took out like the 0 out of 10 reviews, which are obviously this, it's not a 0 out of 10 game. We've all seen 0 out of 10 games. This is not a 0 out of 10. I imagine if I took those out, you could probably average it to around 7, between 7 and 8 out of 10, which I think is an appropriate score for this game. On that note, I had fun with this one. I had fun recording this and kind of just giving you guys my thoughts and opinions on the game. I know, again, this is a more laid-back, casual review. This is kind of how I like to do it. I kind of like this more like, I don't want to say podcasty style, but like it's just a more laid-back version where you can kind of throw me on the background and, you know, while you're doing dishes or something like that, or while you're playing your own games, you know, you'd be like, oh, I wonder what this guy's opinion is. Or like, nah, you know. I just, even though if nobody like listens to these, I just really like the idea of just recording it and kind of just throwing it out there anyways, just to have it out there. I think this is more something for me than actually for other people, as weird as that is to say, but think of it as like a journal almost, like journal entries. If you remember that from being a kid, journaling. But anywho, I'm gonna leave it at that. 7.5 out of 10. I had fun playing it. It's definitely not a hard platinum. If you want to look at it from that side too as well, it's a pretty easy one. There's just one trophy that that sucks, and I'll tell you which one it is right now. A rare occurrence. This is the one that sucks. Because essentially is you have to find 5 creatures, and they're all in different seasons, different locations, and they don't have 100% spawns. So if you do not look up a guide, you will be running around an entire map for 4 seasons, every season. And the thing is, again, it's a very low percentage chance, because you have to, like, I think you have to travel a distance of like 500 or 200 kilometers, or not kilometers, sorry, that'd be a long distance, 200 meters, and then come back to trigger the spawn chance again, right? So even with that, I remember it took me about like 40 minutes of trying to get one of them to spawn. So if you didn't have any of that information, that would be a fucking horrible trophy to get. And so I hope Ubisoft doesn't do any more trophies like that, because that one is pretty ridiculous, even by like a collecting style trophy standards are. But overall, I'd probably give the trophy difficulty like a 3 out of 10. It's not so much that it's difficult, it's more that you're sacrificing time, and that's just where that comes from, right? How much time are you willing to give up for this trophy specifically, right? But on that note, you guys, thank you for listening. If you came by, I hope to do more of these. I like this little series that I got going. I hope to get back into playing some more Witcher 1 again, because I've also been enjoying that too as well. And yeah, I will talk to you guys later, and I will see you on the next one. Take care.